Hello, Raider Nation. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast from up here in the coach's box, literally sitting at the 50. There's the field in front of me. And sitting here at the 50-yard line at Allegiant Stadium. Got a lot to talk to you about, and I'm going to be very blunt with you. It's not going to be rosy. This was a brutal loss. It was a terrible loss. It was a horrible loss, and the loss sits on the shoulders of one man. We're going to get into all of that, and I want to say something to you at first, because I put a tweet out today that I was stunned after only 3 games, the pessimism in Raider Nation. And it was not stunned that they're frustrated. They should be. This has been decades of the franchise telling you just win, and they haven't won. I was stunned because in my 6 seasons here, there's been multiple head coaches, and they've always given them more time than 3 games before they went to complete pessimism. That was what stunned me. Not that the fans were frustrated. I'm not stupid. I understand that, and I've told you, this franchise has to earn your trust. But there is no other way to cut the mustard here than to just squarely talk about the elephant in the room, which is Geno Smith. But what I do want to mention before I get started is it was not pretty, and I'm not going to take it easy. But when you're critical of someone in our society today, people automatically think if I disagree with you or if I'm critical of you, I don't like you. And this is hard for me, not hard because it's my job, but what's difficult is he's a wonderful man. And I love the way he went in after the press conference. We put the video up. I encourage you to go watch it. I mean, I asked him a pretty tough question. You talked about in May that you were brought in to run this offense efficiently, yet you lead the NFL in sacks. Totally, there was none of this passive aggressive, which we've seen in the past of, it's my fault, but yet throw everybody under the bus. He takes all the blame. Last week, the guy played terrific, took all the blame. That says something about his character, number one. Number two, I asked him, last week you're running for your life, sacked 5 times, no interception. This week, no sacks, and 3. How do you put your finger on it? So we asked him the very tough questions. I asked Pete Carroll, and you can go watch the video on all this. After the 3rd interception, he's leading the NFL. Was there any consideration to benching him for Kenny Pickett? And he said, no, this isn't the time for that, or no, this isn't the time, something along those lines. I mean, so you ask the tough questions, but what happens is sometimes is when you ask tough questions or you're critical, people take it, and that's just not the reality. So let me just go over the ugly with Geno. And let me say what makes this worse is Washington is a good football team. The Bears suck. So you got to figure out what's that say about your Raiders. We're going to get into all that tonight, so don't go anywhere. But the Bears are terrible. I don't think Ben Johnson is a great coach, and I don't believe at all in Caleb Williams. And the Raiders beat themselves tonight. And let me just go back and say, Geno Smith beat the Raiders tonight. I mean, after the 3rd interception, if you watch this game, you could tell. He'll never admit it, but you could tell Chip Kelly was calling a game, not trying to let Geno have another mistake. You can't play the game of football scared. The moment you can't believe in your quarterback, you have to make that change, in my opinion. Not even you have to make it for the season. I mean, there's been 4 games, and 2 of them Geno looked terrific. And 2 of them he looked like a top 5 quarterback, and in 2 of them he looked like a bottom 5 quarterback. But the moment you see, okay, I have to change the way I'm calling the game because my quarterback's play is terrible, you have to go make the change, in my opinion. That's why I asked Pete about it. It's what I believe. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm going to have to face Geno in this locker room all season, and I'm not picking on him. I would say that about any player on this team. The moment you have to play scared, then it's time to make a change. That's the reality. Doesn't have to be for the whole season, but it absolutely needed to be at least for the game. So let's talk about what Geno did today, because it was not good. 14 to 21, so he's 66%, 117 yards, sacked 0, already told you that. He had 2 touchdown passes, and but intercepted 3 times. His quarterback rating, 73, the same as Caleb Williams. Completely unacceptable. And remember, this is a guy who, at a youth football game this year, told the crowd, it's why I'm paid the big bucks. Now, I don't think you should throw people's contracts in their face, but he brought it up in a public setting, and your 2 games at home this year, you've thrown 6 interceptions. I mean, the issue is, I told you 2 weeks ago after the brutal loss to the Chargers that if you think Geno is a top 10 to 15 quarterback, he'll have another game like this one, and he did today. But he'll have more like week 1 and 3 than he did week 2 and 4, which is what you have to hope. But your quarterback basically gave the Bears 13 points. The Raiders lose 25-24. I think that was the final. Let me double check. It was. So literally the Raiders should have won 24-12. 24-12. And the defense was outstanding. Max Crosby, every single game has been outstanding. Were there guys on this defense that missed a play here or there? Yes, but that happens every game. That is normal. This defense was outstanding. It essentially gave up 12 points. I mean, what are you supposed to do when your quarterback's giving up the ball and you're into the field and you're holding them to freaking field goals? That's a great defensive play. I told you last week the defense just was literally worn out. They were not worn out this week, and so they maintained that standard. Last week the game just got away from them because the offense was terrible. And let's go right to the offensive line. They were terrific. There was one really bad play. Jordan Meredith, a young player learning a new position, made the mistake. It was a terrible mistake. There's no sugarcoating it. But then he played really well. In fact, I'm going to watch all of the game film tonight, and I'm going to watch it again tomorrow. I like to watch it a couple times, and I'm going to really drill down on it in my next podcast. I thought the offensive line played outstanding. So if you're going to talk about how bad they were last week, and they deserved it, they responded. Colton Miller went down, got carted off the field. I am going to tell you, you may remember a couple weeks ago when Brock Bowers got injured, I had said to you that a person with the organization told me they were really optimistic he was going to play. I can tell you right now that same person literally just a few minutes ago communicated to me that they expect Colton to probably play next week. It's a big probability. It's real early. The game is barely over. But that's kind of the feeling that they got. They told me it was very good news. Colton was outstanding. Again, I thought everybody was really good on the offensive line. They learned from it, which when you have a young offensive line, great. Give credit to Brennan Carroll. Give credit to Chip Kelly. The offensive line, I personally felt this was their best performance of the season. I think this was their best. I thought the Patriots game was their second best. I thought the Chargers game was their third. And then, of course, the blowout to Washington, they were horrendous. So they played really well. Ashton Jeanty absolutely played his mind out. Here's the amazing part. My wife said, I asked Raider Nation for their predictions. And so my wife made hers and said that she predicted 5 sacks. The Raiders only got 1. But she did predict 2 touchdown passes for Geno, and which he got, and over 100 yards for Ashton. I mean, and just listen to Ashton's numbers, okay? Let's just start with 2 passes thrown to him. He caught them both for 17 yards, 2 touchdowns. Running the football, 21 carries, 138 yards, 6.6 average, and 1 touchdown. 3 touchdowns for Ashton Jeanty today. He was outstanding. He was not good. He was outstanding. This is the guy that we thought. Now, when you look, he only touched the ball 23 times. I talked to you last week. I want to see it 25, so we're 2 away. Raheem Mostert got the play got the play today. Zamir sat down. He ran 4 times for 62 yards. So good for him. Geno Smith ran 4 times for 31. But it's the sack yardage that just crushed him. But Geno Smith was terrible. It doesn't mean that he's a terrible human being. And quite frankly, it doesn't mean he's a terrible quarterback. He had a terrible day. And I want to go back because this is not the Geno we saw the entire offseason or even in the preseason. But there are some good reasons because you have a right as a fan to ask me, Hondo, if you didn't see this, if you guys didn't see it and nobody did, what are the reasons for that? And I think there are some good points that would be a fair question of you to question me, and I think I should take those head on. First of all, there is not, in practice, he's not live. So I think that that was a big reason. And in preseason, he's not playing very long. So those are all germane reasons why we didn't see it. But we did not see this at all from him. Inefficient with the football. I mean, his throws today were bad, and worse. Now, he had a pass to Dante Thornton that Dante should have caught. But he's a rookie, and Geno should have had the ball up higher where he could have turned upfield and tried to get a touchdown. They needed a touchdown. So it's fair to point out where the rookie made a mistake, but it's your highly compensated, multi-year veteran that failed. Rookies make rookie mistakes. That was a complete failure. So I said to you coming into the game, what are we going to learn from this? And I am more than willing to be held accountable to what I said to you. I said we were going to learn a lot about this team. They were going to make a statement whether they won or lost. So here is the statement. They're 1-3. They are a very good defense with part of their special team is really good, but my word, how many times are you going to get penalized on special teams? A.J. Cole, tremendous. Daniel Carlson, very good. But the kick return's fine, but how many penalties? The penalties have been atrocious. And you have a offense that has yet to click. The offense of line today looked great, but then you have to remember they were playing the Chicago Bears. And it wasn't the monsters of the Midway. It was not a good football team, and you just lost to them. So that tells you what you need to know. You're not a good football team. I told you I did not expect this to be a playoff team. I stand by that. Obviously, now everyone does. But I did not. I mean, I thought they would be 2-2 and they're 1-3. And this is the reality is you just lost a football game at home to a very bad team. That makes you worse than bad. And here's the problem. It sucks for this defense. Patrick Graham, yet again, his guys are healthy, puts on a tremendous performance. Max Crosby literally played like an NFL MVP today. Interception. He was all over the field, knocking passes down, intercepting balls. Let me give you, and this is not even fair to read Max's stat line because he played better than his stats. Okay, he had 5 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, 3 tackles for a loss, 1 interception, 3 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble. I mean, Devin White, 9 tackles. Jeremy Chin, 7. It was a tremendous defensive performance. Can you point to guys that should have been played better? Yes, some of them young guys, others just one mistake here or there. But this defense, yet again, in 75% of their games, has been outstanding. And you can blame the offense for the third game in which they struggled, which was the Commander game. You just don't have a good offense, and you have the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. I am not calling for Chip to get fired. I am just saying that the performance of the offense has not been commensurate with the investment Mark Davis has made in the offense, and he's got to fix it. Again, I don't think anybody expected the Raiders, well, I think some did, my wife included, to be a playoff team, but certainly did not expect your offense through 4 games to be totally anemic. And then you finally get a game where your offensive line's performing, your run game's performing, and Geno, for the second straight home game, was horrible. I think you certainly can look at this team and look at the fact, all right, the offensive line seems to be ascending, albeit against the Bears, and you have to mention that, and Ashton Jeanty coming into his own, but you have to be scared early. 3 games. 2 games where you're 3 games where early in the first drive, massive mistakes. I am never ashamed to look at you and say, young players make young mistakes. You throw that one up as a mulligan. And if that's true, and I believe it is, then you have to be able to look you in the eyes and say, this is a, quote, big bucks, unquote. His quote, not mine. Geno said it, not me. So I don't feel like I'm throwing anything in his face. He's the one that, when he was heckled, was boisterous about that. So if you're going to brag about that, then that's the standard. You don't see Max Crosby running around saying, woohoo, that's why I get paid the big bucks. No, he just goes out and plays. And again, Geno's a great guy. But the reality is, he is not even anywhere near playing up to his contract. And I'm sorry. We can't be critical of Derek Carr for interceptions and turnovers and Aiden O'Connell and then pretend that the guy paid significantly more than both of them, significantly more than Aiden, isn't arguably playing worse. That's reality. Now, in half the games, Geno has been very good. Both games outdoors, which is weird to me, and both games, he looked like a top 5 guy. So you can see where if they get this together, this team can beat anyone on their schedule. But at some point, you're going to risk that defense getting beat down. There's going to come a game when it's just the nature of the NFL. This offense is going to have to beat somebody, and you can't score. That's Chip Kelly's job. And if the answer is not replacing Geno, and I don't know if that is, I'm not paid the big bucks for that. But I'm telling you, if I was Pete, after he threw the third one today, yeah, sit your can down. Doesn't mean it has to be for the season, but Kenny, we need a touchdown here, and we can't have Chip calling plays. And listen, I not because I think he's a liar. I don't think Chip in any way would say, oh yeah, I did call the game different. I don't believe that for 1 second. But if you watch the game, he did. That is the reality. And the reality is, Geno Smith has to perform better than this. He is your captain. He is your leader of this team. And he has cost you 2 wins. Cost you 2. And got you 1, which he's supposed to. Cost you 2, which he's not supposed to. And that is the reality of this situation. So what does this mean? I said the Raiders were going to make a statement when the statement is that they are in critical mass 4 games in. So they go next week to Indianapolis against an improved Colts team. I don't think they're as good as the Chargers. I don't. Matter of fact, let me look at one thing today. But I don't think they're as good as the Chargers. And we saw what the Raiders did there. But today, the Colts beat the Rams. Lost to the Rams. And everybody knows I think the Rams are a really good team. But I don't think the Colts are as good as the Chargers. So it's outdoors. Do I think the Raiders go win next week? No. Until this offense can demonstrate to me something, no. I don't think so. All right? Could they win it? Yes. Am I predicting it today? No way. Okay? Then you ask yourself, what's after that? You come home, take on Tennessee. They're horrible. I don't think that they are as bad as, I don't think they're as bad as the Bears, but you just lost to the Bears. And then, oh, by the way, you go to Kansas City. I mean, you could be literally sitting here looking at the next 3 games. You could be 3-4, or it could go really bad and you're 1-6. And you're fast approaching. All right, if you're sitting here at the bye week, do you then say, okay, we are going to switch from we're not a reloading team to a rebuilding team? Do you go full rebuild? Got a lot of young players. That's a question that has to be asked. Because once even if you're not mathematically, but you are essentially eliminated from a playoff berth, then you have to look to the future. You have to. It's just the reality of the situation. This is why the Raiders wanted Matthew Stafford, and Geno was not their first choice. But this is the choice of your head coach. And I don't have a problem with it, but they have to respond now. They made a statement. Last week was not the bottom, and I talked to you about yesterday. The Raiders had an opportunity to prove last week in Washington was the bottom, and now they're ascending. And now we find out the bottom was deeper than we thought. And if they go lose to the Colts, they dig the hole even deeper. I said that today the Raiders played the Raiders, and everyone on this team responded, other than your captain and quarterback. And again, I'm not picking on him. I like Geno, but it's the reality. It's the truth. And you can't win in the National Football League without a quarterback. Especially, you can't win with a quarterback that's giving away the ball like Dane Cook jokes about Oprah Winfrey. You get a car, you get a car, you get an interception. Hey, you want one? You can have one. And you're doing it at home in front of your fans, where this crowd politely was 50-50. You're trying, and Pete talked about this. Make sure you go watch the video. Pete talked about this. It's disappointing. We're trying to do something in front of our fans, and they're failing. The thing is, if I'm Pete Carroll and I'm watching this film, I'm calling every defensive player. I appreciate how well you played. I'm calling my offensive players. Proud of how you played. But this was his guy. I'm going to go back to something because it's important to be fair in what I do. I don't get the privilege of being emotionally vested because I'm not a fan. But I said to you when the Raiders let Derek Carr go and got Jimmy Garoppolo, I made the comment to you that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler deserve the benefit of a doubt with Jimmy Garoppolo. They're the ones in the leadership position. They're the ones being paid millions of dollars. This is the guy they wanted, and so they have to live with this guy. And I said, if it works out, they're heroes. And if it utterly fails, they are going to be ultimately responsible. And it failed. The same is true with Geno. Tom Brady wanted to go get Matthew Stafford. The Raiders made a bigger offer, a much better offer than the Rams. But Matthew, at the end of his career, didn't want to uproot his family again. That's fair, and the Raiders did everything they could have done. I'm good with that. This is who your head coach wanted. Pete Carroll will be ultimately judged on this decision. Now, could they pivot and go with Kenny Pickett and have him show up and play phenomenally well? Yes. Could Geno turn it around and play the next 5 games like he did game 1 and 3, and the Raiders somehow win the next 4, and they're sitting here at 5 win the next 3 and be sitting here at 4 and 3? Yes, he could. We know he can do it. We have track record, but this rests squarely on him. They have to figure out. And if you're looking for anything rosy, the point is your defense continues to play well. Parts of your special teams are outstanding. And now your offensive line is ascending, albeit against the Bears. Your number 6 pick overall is playing like it. You got a lot of weapons. Now you just have to get your offense to have one game where everybody fires on all cylinders, or at least doesn't kill the team. That's it. That's the complete recap. That is the blunt force trauma of where your team is. I understand that many of you are just ultimately pessimistic. I get that. I don't understand it simply because it's 4 games, but I totally get the frustration. It makes complete sense to me. And I'm going to tell you that frustration is shared by just about everybody around the team. So none of them are going to be mad at you for being frustrated. First of all, you shouldn't care. But number two, none of them are going to be frustrated because they are all frustrated. This is a frustrating situation. You are what your record says you are, but they think they're better than their record. But you're not. That's the reality of the NFL. This is big boy football. Whatever your record says you are, you are. Well, but yeah, but no. Yeah, but what about no? But Hondo, don't you think? No. You're 1-3 with your big buck quarterback leading the league in interceptions. And oh, by the way, 2 home games, 3 each. 3 each. Ouch. That's the reality of this situation. It is bleak. 4 games in. Some things are pointing up. But the reality is there ain't a whole lot of games on this schedule like the team you just lost to. You're making life hard on yourself. That's it. It's the reality of the situation. It's tough. It's hard enough to win in this league. It's impossible when you have to beat the other team and your quarterback. Tough day for Gino. He's given us reason to absolutely believe. And I'm going to say this, and this is not going to be popular, but I don't say things to be popular with you. I tell you exactly what I think. I think Gino is a better quarterback than this, but he has to go prove that because until he is, this is what he is. 2 weeks, he looks like a bottom 5. 2 weeks, he looks like a top 5. So that's 16 in this league. But I'm sorry, Raider Nation's motto is just win, baby, not just be mediocre. That has been the reality of the situation for 2+ decades. It's not good enough anymore. Raider Nation has had it. They're ticked. They're angry. They're frustrated. They're pessimistic more than I've ever seen in my 6 years here. They want to believe. And this team has had the opportunity given to them on a silver platter to say, okay, here's some red meat, believe in us. Grab the carnivore silver and black diet. And they failed. They failed. Say whatever you want. They failed. But Hondo failed. Yeah, but don't you think failed? But what failed? Guess what? There's no place in the standings. Yeah, but the defense was good. Yeah, but the running back was good. This is why this is the ultimate team sport. You win as a team, you lose as a team. And you got a bunch of defenders and a bunch of guys playing their guts out who have to walk out and they go to grocery stores and they have neighbors and they have families. And they have to look in the mirror and say, we suck again because we're 1-3 and you are what your record says you are. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. And they have to fix it. It wasn't like the quarterback they wanted got injured and they're stuck with an also ran. They're paying him big bucks. This is who they wanted. There's the old adage, dance with the one who brung you. But how long do you dance? Again, I'm not saying they needed to do it for the season, but after the 3rd interception, I would have benched Gino. Because you cannot play afraid of your quarterback costing you the game. And that's what happened. See you tomorrow, everybody.